Hey everybody, my name's Commander Eagle 131, and I'd like to show off the UC Navigator Corps Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser. A few weeks ago, we started a project to resurrect a few decommissioned UC Navigator Corps military ship designs for the general public, with the permission of the UC government. If you'd like to hear more about how we got started, I'll toss a link in the cards above to the first UC Navigator Corps ship we designed, where I talk about that in detail. The ship you're seeing here today, the Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser, is the final out of 3 Navigator Corps ships we rebuilt from the ground up. The other vessels in this series I will link in the description below. The ship's namesake comes from ancient Earth civilization in Greece and their practice of establishing religious citadels in their cities. Acropolises often physically dominated Greek cityscapes, and they were usually a topographical feature with religious monuments or strongholds built on top. Deimos Staryard's designers chose the name well. The Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser would be that shining beacon that upheld civilization and humanity while out in the wilds, all while flying the UC flag. The Acropolis was the penultimate Navigator Corps explorer. The vessel would be seen as the lead ship in the fleet during any larger UC expeditions and would serve as the command center for the entire operation. The ship would house all team leaders and other VIPs relevant to the operation. As such, the vessel is quite large and equipped with many different facilities inside, including a sick bay, flag bridge, research lab, and a large mess hall. UC Navigator Corps expeditions usually saw quite a few ships touch down on the ground. The Acropolis would serve as a temporary HQ during construction of a more permanent outpost, or, if the expedition fleet did not have a CORBITA-CLASS freighter and a construction team for outpost construction, then the Acropolis would fulfill that permanent HQ role. It wasn't uncommon to see service people and scientists coming and going from the Acropolis's front door, even if they arrived on another vessel. The Acropolis was truly the heart and soul of all larger-scale UC Navigator Corps expeditions. And now, it's available for you, the private citizen or organization, to support your own missions of discovery. Exterior design-wise, the original Deimos Staryard's designers took the overall frame of the CORBITA-CLASS freighter and built the Acropolis into it as we see it today. If you have seen the CORBITA freighter, then you can already tell that the Acropolis looks vastly different, much more majestic and prettier to look at. Intentional design on Deimos' part. You can't have the Navigator Corps flagship cruiser brand looking like an industrial hunk of bolts and framework. It has nice sleek lines on the top that blend into the front nose area where the grav drive is housed. And just below that, we have our bottom-mounted wheelhouse or navigation bridge, typical design to Navigator Corps vessel, and a return of the Nova Galactic takeoff and landing system. The Deimos takeoff and landing system was never really built to be as rugged as the Nova Galactic system, so Deimos engineers opted to include these tried-and-true landing gear. As with the case of other UC Navigator Corps vessels, however, you'd never see that note appear in any service manuals or promotional material for the Acropolis. The rear of the ship has an eclectic collection of main thrusters. Fresh out of the Colony War, it was an unusual time of intentional cooperation between the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies. This is why the Acropolis's main thruster was manufactured by Slayton, and not one of the typical manufacturers that the UC generally sticks with. The vessel's main purpose was exploration, however, it's still military in design. As such, the ship is coated in assorted weaponry for defense, including a large primary battery of auto-particle cannons, a secondary battery of ballistic cannons, and a tertiary battery of small missile pods. The original Acropolises were often fitted with the then experimental rapid-fire large magazine missiles, now commonly known as the CE-13 Vanguard Tempest launcher, only available to members of the United Colonies Vanguard. Interior design-wise, we have a whole plethora of Habs space inside to aid with long-term missions of exploration. However, I won't go into the details here. Instead, I'll be giving a more in-depth interior tour towards the end of the video, so go ahead and skip to that segment in a little bit after we conclude our talk about ship specs if you are not interested in heading off into the builder with us. So let's go ahead and get that spec sheet pulled up. It has a C-class reactor with an output of 40, active crew complement of 8, jump range of about 30 light years, a mobility rating of 68, and a total fuel capacity of 650. So we can see at a glance, we have a pretty standard looking all-purpose C-Class build. The Acropolis was purpose-built for hanging around planetary surfaces for long periods of time, and was meant to be part of a fleet. She can go it solo though. The Acropolis doesn't have much cargo, but what she does have is plenty of shield, firepower, and armor. While definitely not a battle cruiser of any sort, the Acropolis was able to defend itself more than aptly and keep the rest of the exploration fleet safe. Alright, we're just about ready to head off into the builder, but before we do that, I have a few disclaimers for you. First, this will not be a ship builder tool tutorial, this will be a ship build tutorial. I will be showing you how to build this specific ship and assuming that you're already comfortable with the shipbuilding. Second, to build the Acropolis to exacting specifications, you'll need rank 4 ship designs, rank 4 piloting, and to be level 60 or above. Again, this is all required for exacting specifications. You'll be able to build most of this ship without all that, but your mileage is going to vary based on your own level and skill ranks. And the last, this ship relies on some pretty heavy glitch building, the flip glitch and the copy glitch. If you don't know how to do these, I'll be providing some how-to material on each glitch build during the builder segment, and things like your achievements won't be affected and you will not be branded as a cheater. Last step before the building tutorial. Here is a list of all Staryard specific modules to pick up before we commence our build. I highly suggest purchasing these parts, placing them on your desired ship, and then dragging everything back to an outpost landing pad with ShipBuilder. One special note lies with the engine. The Slayton SAL6830 is locked behind a mission, so if you do not have the ability to purchase said engine, then the SAL6330 is a viable alternative. Alright, let's head off into the builder. See you there. Alright everybody, here we are in the builder. I've left the Acropolis intact for the time being because I kind of want to give an overview of the ship as a whole, and so you can actually see the ship in raw, nitty-gritty detail in the ship builder. I also got a few comments on the cosmetics here, but let's go ahead and talk about this. As you can see, there's a lot of detail here, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I mean detail in the sense of lots of little pieces. So this is a maximum module limit ship. So just know that. Lots of little pieces, maximum build count, very large ship. So we can see here there's a lot of glitch building as well. All these pieces are pretty much glitch built into each other. Can't normally have a Deimos wing glitched into a Deimos bumper. Same thing, these spines are kind of glitch built into these bumpers to kind of close this weird looking gap that those bumpers create. But I'll be giving some learning material on how to do each glitch build that we're doing, so in case you don't know how to do it. I think most of you probably are familiar with all the glitch builds, the common glitch builds by now, but I'll be giving that material anyway, just in case. So the last point I kind of want to talk about, there's one thing. I'm happy with pretty much like 95% of this ship I'm happy with. The only thing I'm not happy with are these two sides here on the Deimos Habs. I've never liked the way Deimos Habs look when they're exposed like this. If I have to have them on the outside of a ship, I always try to hide this weird looking unfinished side panel look with something. But on this particular build, I compromised. I left it because the first reason being I wanted the entire interior to be Deimos. I did try putting Nova Galactic Habs on these edges just to see what it looked like, and it does look way better, but you know, it's no longer a Deimos military ship, you know what I mean? So I had to keep them on there. I knew I wanted windows on the exterior. These were the only places that I could put them, so people can look out into space, or when you're landed on the planet, you can look out at the planet. This is the only place I could put the windows, so there was nothing I could really do as far as cosmetics. And honestly, it's a max build limit ship anyway. There wasn't a whole lot else I probably would have ended up being able to do. So if you guys can come up with any kind of creative ways to you know, keep these Habs on here, but to seal in this ugly side panel exposed hull look, I'd love to see it. You know, send me a screenshot, you know, tag me on a YouTube community post or send me a Reddit link or something. But yeah, if you're building along and you come up with a way to hide this ugliness, I'd love to see it. But to begin with the building, we'll start by assembling all the Habs first, and then we'll build all these pieces around it after. And then when we start doing the cosmetic pieces, which I generally call the big pile of stuff, we'll go from the top down. So let me go ahead and explode the ship out. This will take me a few minutes, but for you it'll only take a second. Alright, so I got the ship exploded out now. I told you it'd only take a second. So I've only got 2 piles this time. One for the Habs, and one for the big pile of stuff, all the cosmetics and all the other pieces, main modules, etc. I left this all as one big pile because I think this is going to be pretty straightforward. We'll just build this part and then move all this stuff over. I did, if you're looking at the weapons down here in the shield, since it was max module limit, I did go ahead and pre-delete all of the weapons in the shield, just so we can have, you know, 8 or 9 extra slots, so when I show you how to do some of the things, I won't run into trouble. So yeah, I did go ahead and totally stealth delete all the weapons. We'll place those when we're done. Let me give a couple of comments regarding the Habs here. So first, I want to discuss player pathing and expected ladder and door placement behavior. Then I want to go over some roleplay notes. So I'm chaptering this video, so if you want to kind of skip around, because the roleplay notes lecture might be a little bit long, so you can go ahead and just skip straight to the building after I get done. But go ahead and stay for the expected pathing, because that's kind of important. So let's get started with that. So the player pathing, you kind of walk in through this landing bay and the docker, and you walk straight through this hallway into the bridge. Okay? So that's the important. This is the important pathway. For the role players here, myself included, to access the rest of the ship, the expected behavior for pathing should be up this stairwell here, and you can access all of these Habs via this one stairwell. There should be no doors here, you know, there should be no ladders anywhere in here. It should just be all decks accessible by this one column of ladders, okay? And to access all this stuff at the front of the ship, you go up to this 4th deck here and just walk through here, down a little mini stairwell right here, and then you're off inside of, you know, the front section right here. So again, expected pathing should be up in this stairwell to these rear Habs, and then forward through these 2x1s down this stairwell into these 2 Habs down here. The reason I have these Hope Tech Hab spines is because these Hab spines force a connection, sort of force a connection front and rear. There are no connector points on the sides and up and down, so no worries about the game trying to place a ladder in here. Originally, I wanted to have a 2x1 control station, but admittedly I didn't even place it because I thought to myself, well, then that's going to create a loop. And as we all know, this door and ladder placement system doesn't really like loops. So I didn't even really want to spend time messing with it. So I just kind of put these Hab spines down here and called it a day. I've assembled this a few times, and it's worked pretty flawlessly. I've never had any issues with door and ladder placement. I've been known to be wrong in the past, so how we assemble this, it should get you expected pathing behavior and all doors and ladders placed where they need to go. So let's go ahead and move on to the roleplay notes. So if you're not interested in listening to me talk about my own headcanon around the Acropolis, now's a good time to use the YouTube chaptering to go ahead and skip, because we're going to be commencing with the building after this. If you're with me, buckle up. This is going to be a bit of a long-winded rant, but all cool things that I want to kind of get out of my head to all you guys who appreciate the RP stuff. So let's get started. So back here, let's start back here. Here on this 2nd deck, we have a Deimos engineering bay. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and if you watch the show, a lot of the show is spent in main engineering, following the main engineers, the chief engineers, and all that stuff. So I had to have this on this. You know, this is a large expedition vessel, much like in Star Trek, and it's like, you know, we got to have main engineering. we just got to have it. So here it is. And it's also one of my favorite Deimos Habs too. It's a very, very cool Hab. There's like an engine in the middle spinning around, and yeah, you got to see it. You got to see it if you haven't. So right next to it, we have a workshop. And I put workshops on my ships for my own convenience, and this was the most logical place to stick it. Up here on this third deck, we have a 2x2 battle stations. Now, I think of this less as a battle stations, but more of a flag bridge. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a brief history lesson. And if you're a Navy person, active or retired, or if you're a connoisseur of Navy sailing ships, please be kind to me. I have a very limited understanding. I'm just going to give a pretty general explanation for those who don't know. So forgive me. I'm going to be very general. But so as far as Navy sailing ships are concerned, Navy flagships, the lead ship of a big fleet, they would sometimes have a flag bridge as well as a second navigation bridge. The Acropolis has this, so we have a flag bridge here in the back, and we have a navigation bridge in the front. And the two are, from my understanding, distinctly different from each other. So your lead flagship on the flag bridge, you would have something like a fleet admiral conducting fleet-wide operations, right? And then on the navigation bridge, that would be more for, the day-to-day operations of the ship, mainly where the ship was driven and steered from. So Acropolis has that. I like to think in our situation here in Starfield, the captain of the ship and all of the personnel responsible for, the operation of the actual ship would be hanging out up here. And all of the expedition team leaders would be hanging out in here conducting, fleet-wide operations. So right here, we've got a single captain's quarters. Now, I did want to originally put 2 to 3 on here, but obviously space limitations, you can't have that, mostly because of my headcanon, right? There's multiple VIPs on board this ship, but, again, it's a video game, space limitations, so we can maybe say the VIPs will have to fight over their own personal quarters. Maybe one of them can sleep down in the landing bay in a sleeping bag or something. Anyway, up here we have an infirmary. Now, I just want to say I would have rather had the infirmary closer to the exit and entry points for emergency's sake. However, it's up here mostly because I wanted it at the end of the walkway loop. I didn't want people walking through the infirmary. That's not appropriate, in my opinion, from a realism standpoint. Doctor-patient confidentiality, I mean, it's just not sanitary. So it had to be at the end of the loop. Up here, we have a research lab, a science lab. This ship has to have one. This was the only place I felt I could put it, so here it is. I also wanted the science lab to be at the end of a loop. I didn't want people walking through the lab, disturbing experiments and all that. Let's move to the front of the ship. We've got a double all-in-one berth setup. We've got a total of 8 beds across these two Habs for your 8 active crew. Originally I had a 2x2 living quarters on here, but for whatever reason there's no beds on there, so I did actually have it down here originally, so I ended up deleting it so we can have a mess hall and we have a more compressed living space. Down here we have our 2x3 mess hall, another Hab that I really like that never makes it onto any of my builds because it's just too wide, but it is on this build and I'm very pleased it's here. It's a very cool Hab if you've never been inside one. And down below it, we have a 2x2 computer core right here. Originally I had a brig that I kind of thought as, the tactical office, whether it be security or, people to defend scientists and expedition teams down on the surface from, hostile wildlife, but I just couldn't get around the jail cells. So I ended up removing it for a more generalized RP Hab of the computer core. So you can kind of think of this computer core as whatever purpose room you want it to be. I don't really have a purpose for it, but if you want the brig back on there, you can easily just flip this back to a brig. And then here we have an armory. Pretty self-explanatory. All right, and that's pretty much it. So if you made it through all that, congratulations. Now you understand kind of my rationale behind building this thing. Why I mean, I love building ships like this more than anything else. This is my thing right here. I love this kind of stuff. So thanks for listening. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this thing built. So to start placing our Habs, we'll begin with our main pathway, and then we'll place everything else afterwards. So go ahead and pull up your build menu. We're going to start in the landing bays tab. We're going to place a ship bed 200 landing bay from tile in the builder first. So focusing on this back part of our landing bay, tabbing to your Habs, we're going to be using a Deimos 1x1. Any one of your choosing, whether it be the companionway or the storeroom, doesn't matter. Then underneath here, tabbing over to your Dockers tab, we're going to be using a 100 DP Slim Docker bottom underneath it, like this. Next, go ahead and tab back over to your Habs tab. We're going to be using all 3 HopeTech Hab spines that we picked up from HopeTech, just like this. And then if you tab to your Cockpits tab right at the front, we're going to be using our Deimos Ares bridge. All right, and there's our main walkway. Next, we'll assemble all of our roleplay Habs. So we're going to be taking 3 of these companionways and stacking them on top of each other. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3. So going back down to this second deck, right here on this anchor point, we're going to be placing an engineering bay 2x2 there. Just like this. Here, we're going to be placing a workshop on the side right there. Like so. Okay, so on this point here, we're going to be placing our battle stations, our flag bridge, roleplay flag bridge. Before I continue, I kind of want to give a quick comment on this regarding the ladder and door placement. So normally I advertise placing these 2x2s the way they want to go. And what I mean by that, you see how I'm hovering over the battle stations and it's trying to connect in that orientation, but when I switch, see that? How the cargo hull wants to go on the other side. In my experience, see, look at how they're flipping left and right like this. In my experience, that's because that's where the game wants to put the door. And if I see, so how it wants to go this way, historically, if I've done it like this, if I place it in the other way that it does not want to go, then usually it seals this, creates a wall and no door, and it'll make us do a ladder maze through here. But for whatever reason, I don't understand why. If I place the battle stations in the orientation it does not want to go, it never fails. It always just places a door there anyway. I'm not entirely sure why. It might have something to do with how weird the engineering bay works, because the engineering bay does weird things with ladders. Could also be because we've got windows here. I've found that placing windows, for whatever reason, sometimes blocks ladders, vertical ladders, from happening in these 2x2s. So I'm just going to shrug it off and say it works for me, and I hope this works for you. Okay, so next, right here, we're going to place our captain's quarters, like so. Okay. Up here, fixing it to this point here, we're going to be placing an infirmary, like this. Okay. Then on the very tippy top here, focusing on that spot, let's go ahead and place a Deimos Science Lab, just like that. Okay. And that completes our sort of aft section. So let's go ahead and get all this stuff placed up front. So focusing on this deck right here, we're going to be sticking 2 all-in-one berths in front of each other like this. Okay. And then underneath this front all-in-one berth here, we're going to be sticking another Deimos 1x1. Come on. Okay. Then focusing on this point right here, our large 2x3 mess hall will go. And then if we kind of move the camera around, we're going to be fixing our Deimos computer core on this side underneath our mess hall. Like so. Then we move the camera back around, and then in this empty space underneath here, we will be placing our armory. And that completes our Habs setup. Again, hopefully this won't give you any trouble. I've built this Habs setup 2 or 3 times just to make sure everything would be kosher with the ladder placement and door placement, and this does kind of worry me a little bit, this battle station part, but it's worked for me, so hopefully it'll work for you. Let's go ahead and start assembling everything from the big pile of stuff. So buckle up, this is gonna this is gonna be the big one right over here. So to start placing all these items from the big pile of stuff, it's going to be a big combination of different areas in the build menu. So we're going to be flip-flopping a lot. I'm going to try to keep this as organized, concise, and quick as I can. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So go ahead and tab over to your structural tab. We'll start on this top tab. We'll just place these 3 items. So we're going to be using a Deimos Wing A port on the port side, and a Deimos Wing A starboard on the starboard side, like this. Then right up front here goes a Deimos cowling. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this thing placed in. This is going to require some glitch building, so let's go ahead and start with placing a Deimos hull A right here first. So go ahead and place your hull A there. Okay. Next, focus on the 2 side anchor points on your hull A and tab over to your cargo holds tab. We're going to be placing these 400 cm ballast cargo holds on either side. If you don't have these, you can use the smaller variant, but these 400 cms were the special ones that we have to pick up from the Staryard. Not available at the Outpost Builder. Okay, so now that we got this assembled, we're going to need to do a couple of copy glitches. So to get started with the copy glitch, if you don't know how to do a copy glitch, check the corner of the screen right here, right now. I'm going to link a little YouTube short where I explain the basic theory behind it and hopefully teach you how to do it if you don't know how. Other than that, I won't go over it in this video for time's sake. So we're going to go ahead and get our sort of copy glitch environment set up. So we're going to actually, now that we have these cargo holds in place the way we want them, we're going to go ahead and move this hull A off real quick. Okay, because we're going to need these anchor points from the cargo holds later. So next, focusing on this point, go ahead and place a HopeTech radiator, like so. Okay. And then we're going to take our hull A, move it here on top of the science lab, and we're going to copy one up, copy one to here, and this is our glitch build environment right here. So we're just going to copy glitch this hull A straight down until it snaps to one or both of these 400 cm ballast cargo holds. And there we have it. Okay. We're not out of the woods quite yet. I'm going to go ahead and delete those 3, but I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to copy one more up. Then we're going to copy another one this way. Okay. We're going to focus on this bottom connector. We're going to put a HopeTech riser B underneath it. Okay. And then we're just going to copy glitch this down into the radiator. Just like that. Alright. And congratulations. That's it. We can delete these 4 modules here. We do not need them anymore. And you just successfully completed 2 glitch builds, 2 copy glitches in a row. So if you've never done that before, congratulations. I like doing the copy glitch. It lets us do some pretty cool things from an exterior aesthetic design point of view. So anyway, there we go. Okay, next, let's go ahead and get this sort of midline section of the ship filled in. So go ahead and tab over to your fuel tanks. We're going to be placing this 900T helium-3 tank. It's the large spherical one, the largest one that we have, since this is going to be the only fuel tank that we have on board. And that's going to get fitted into that little empty square right there. Okay? Like so. Next, to kind of fill in the bow section, we're going to have to do some more copy glitching. Okay, so I'm going to take the liberty of temporarily moving this 1x1 companionway off real fast. So let's go ahead and focus on this point right here. Tab over to your structural tab and stick a Deimos hull A there. If we kind of zoom into this front section, you can see there's a hull A there and a hull A in front of it. They're going to go underneath here, so we're going to need to copy glitch these so they're kind of clipping in a little bit to the Ares bridge. So go ahead, now we have our hull A there, we can copy glitch this guy down. And then we need another one up front, so let's copy this guy forward and then copy this one down. Just like that. Okay? So we don't need these three anymore, so just delete them. Okay? And don't forget to place our companionway back in there. Okay, so next, tab on over to your grav drives tab. Right here in this little shelf we just created is going to go our grav drive. I am personally using the J51 Gamma grav drive. You can use whichever one you want, even if you're flipping to B class, just to make sure that you're going to have connector points on all of these sides, because we're going to be using all of these connection points, okay? So we got this entire midsection filled in, so now we're more or less ready to just start kind of sweeping from top to bottom with all these structural pieces. So let's go ahead and get all that done. Okay, so let's focus on this top part here, on the very tippy top of our ship. We're going to be tabbing back over to our structurals tab if you're not there already. We're going to be using a grand total of 3 Deimos spine bees right here on top of our exposed hab rooftops. On top of our J51, we're going to be capping it off with a Deimos spine A. Okay. Now you can see here we have our Deimos bumpers attached to these sides of our habs. We're actually going to skip this for now because we need to flip glitch these into place after we place all of these spines. But we can't place these spines in their entirety until we get all this stuff in the middle here assembled. So we're going to go out of whack here and do a copy glitch to get this stuff in here. So let's go ahead and focus our efforts in this little empty space here, this 2x1 empty space. Let's begin with focusing on this part on our companionway. Let's go ahead and get a porthole fitted there on both sides. Like this. Okay. Next, we are going to focus on this point here and that point there. We're going to be placing a pair of Hope Tech pipes mid that goes straight across this gap. Okay. Next, focus on the bottom connector points of your Hope Tech pipes mid. We're going to be sticking 2 Deimos skeg bees down there. We have to place it underneath here. Has to connect to there because the skegs don't have anchor points anywhere but the tops. So we have to fit them in manually like so. Okay, now you can see here I had these Stroud Engine Bracer bees glitched inside of these Hope Tech pipes mid, mostly because the pipes don't have a top anchor point, so we're essentially creating a top anchor point with these bracer bees. Okay. So we're going to need to glitch build those in. So we're actually going to move these Hope Tech pipes A mid out and place our 2 Stroud Edge and Bracer bees in. And the reason why we had to place these pipes and then move them off again was because we have to get these skeg bees in place and aligned to the ship's snap grid. because we're going to take these pipes now and then copy glitch them down. So everything will be happily snapped in place. So let's go ahead and perform that glitch build now. Copy glitching these two guys straight down. And you can delete those two because we do not need them. And just double click to make sure everything is connected properly, and it is. And the cool thing about this is you're only going to have to do this copy glitch build once. You can just hold Control to click this whole assembly, and then Control G to copy it. So we can copy it straight over to the other side. And let's just double check. Yep, and it's connected. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these items over here because I no longer need them. Okay, cool. So we just successfully did this glitch build. Let's get these Deimos spine pieces placed in right here. Okay, very, very straightforward. So on both sides of the ship, I'm going to turn the camera so we can look at it from this angle. We're going to be using 2 Deimos spine A's. Actually, we'll just do it this way. Do it the simple way. We're going to take 4 spine B's. Just line it like this. And then in the back there, we're going to be placing a Deimos spine D. And then just Control-click these guys and copy them to the other side. Alright. And let's go ahead and just double-click the ship just to make sure everything's still connected. And it is. Nice. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. Okay. Now we are ready to get these bumpers placed in. Okay, so for the bumpers, we're going to have to perform flip glitching to get these in place. So if you don't know how to do a flip glitch, check the corner of the screen now, and I'm linking a quick, about 50-second YouTube short clip where I teach you how to do that. But if you already know how to do that, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to take our Deimos bumper. We're going to stick one right here. Obviously, it won't fit, so we need to flip glitch her into place. So flip, flip, cancel. And we're going to do another one here. And we need to do that on the other side as well. So, like this. And done. Cool. I'm going to move the camera back around now. So let's go ahead and deal with our corners here. We're going to be placing the Deimos bumper port 4 and port starboard, or starboard. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Getting tongue-tied. So we're going to place the end caps for these bumpers on the fronts. One per side, like this. Okay. No glitch building required for the front section. In the rear section, we're using the 2 aft variants, and those are going to need to get flip glitched into place. We're going to be anchoring them to that spot right there on our infirmary on both sides. So flip, flip, cancel. And flip the camera around to look at the other side. Done. Let's just double click to make sure everything connected. Cool. We're good. Okay. Let's get these wing A corner cap pieces in place. We'll start at the front. So take a couple of Deimos wing A's. We're going to be attaching this anchor point to this anchor point on the grav drive, like so. And these will need to get flip glitched as well. Double click, let's make sure that's connected, okay. And we're going to do that again in the back. So same deal, this point will be getting fixed to the infirmary point right there. So flip, flip. And duplicate that to the other side. Cool. We are all connected up. Alright. So let's go ahead and, while we're still under our structural pieces, let's go ahead and get this whole bow section, nose cone area kind of dealt with. So let's go ahead and focus on this point here on our companionway on both sides. We're going to be using a pair of Nova Galactic braking engines on either side. Just like this, okay? And then focusing on this point here on the bottom connector of our grav drive, we're going to be using a pair of Horizon weapon mounts on either side. And that's where our sort of main particle cannons are going to get placed. All right. Let's go ahead and focus on this point and that point here on the nose. We're going to be using a pair of Hope Tech nose Bs. Just like this. Then right in this middle spot, we're going to be placing a Deimos braking engine. Just like that. Okay. Let's focus on this little area here where the bridge meets these glitch-built hull A's. We're going to give some symmetry to these wing A's and also to kind of close off this kind of ugliness blend. I really don't like the way that blends right there. So these wing A's will kind of kill two birds with one stone in that regard. So we can delete this hull A. We don't need it anymore. Place two wing A's here and flip glitch them into place. One there and one there. Let's just double click to make sure we're connected. Excellent. Looks like a Nova Galactic landing gear somehow made it over. Not yet, buddy. Not yet. Okay, so that's our front section fully assembled. Let's go ahead and focus on the rear of the ship now. Let's get our engine assembly ready to go. So focus right here on these 2 points. We're going to be fixing our reactor there. So tab over to your reactors. Whichever one you choose to use, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you've got connector points all around the sides, like so, like I have on mine. And we're going to be fixing our reactor right there on the bottom, right down the center line. Okay. Tab on over to your engines tab. We're going to be placing our SAL engine on the top, like that. Okay, let's start with our two DT60 engines that we picked up from Deimos or Nova Galactic. I think they're also sold at Nova Galactic. I can't remember which one was which. Both of these guys will get fixed to the bottom anchor point on our reactor. No glitch building needed. Okay, and focusing on these 2 points here on the upper connector points on our reactor. Our two White Dwarf 2030s are going to go up there, but those will need to be flip glitched into place. Just like that. Let's double click to make sure we're connected up. Good. And this kind of creates a neat little kind of semicircle of thrusters. All right. We're almost done here, so let's get the final bit of structural pieces. As you can see here, we've got a grand total of 8 portholes that are going to go around the sides of our exposed upper halves on both sides. So let's just quickly get those placed in. 4 on that side, 4 on the starboard side. Just like that. Okay, so to get the remainder of these items placed, we're going to start here with these 4 cargo holds. I'm not going to go into nitty-gritty detail with those. It's very self-explanatory. So we're going to just be using 4 of these plain old Dagama 1000 shielded cargo holds that you can get from any outpost builder. And we're going to be fixing 2 here, and then 2 on those 2 points on the other side. So I'm just going to move all 4 at once. Self-explanatory. Just like that. Okay. So last but not least, let's get our landing gear fitted in. So go ahead and tab over to the gear tab. And while you do that, I'm going to move my camera this way very gently so I don't make you guys seasick. And here, we're going to be focusing on these 2 bottom faces of our Habs here. We're going to be placing our special Nova Galactic 20 landing gear that you had to get from New Homestead. So let's go ahead and start there. So we're going to be using a 4 variant and then the regular mid variant on either side like this. Okay. And then if we move the camera to look at the aft section of the vessel, same thing here. We're looking at these 2 exposed faces right here on our bottom sides of our rear Habs. We're going to be using 4 more NG20 landing gear. We're going to be using the wide variant for all 4. Just like that. Okay. Double click to make sure they're connected. Nope, I had a feeling. There we go. Okay. We're good to go there. Okay, so I'm going to swing the camera back up. For the remainder of our landing gear, we're just going to be using 8 of our plain old NG10 landing gear. We're going to be using the 4 variants on front and the aft variants on the aft section. So this part's also self-explanatory. So I'm just going to move all these on. We're fixing them to those points there on the bottom exposed faces of our Habs. So let me flip the camera back around here, hit the starboard side. Cool. And there are all of our landing gear snugly fit. Let me just double click to make sure I've got everything connected up. Nice. Okay, so last but not least, let's hit our shield and our weapons. So if you're building my exact loadout, I'm mounting my shield up here, and I decided I wasn't playing around this time since this is supposed to be a military explorer. We're using the big boy shield, the 1600 shield one, and that's going to get mounted up top here. Okay. Let's go ahead and focus on these points here, the top and the bottom connectors on our 2 side wings. Tab over to your weapons. Again, if you're copying my exact build, I'm just using 2 Class B KE-49A autocannons on the top. I would have chosen a C-Class one, but the C-Class weapons get to be really big, and I really just don't like the way weapons muddy up sleek top decks like these, so I opted for a small but effective autocannon for up top here. And then if we focus on the lower connector on both sides of the ship, I'm using 2 A-Class Vanguard CE-13 Tempest missile launchers, so we're going to use 1 per side. Again, I chose these for a number of reasons. A, because they're really fun to shoot. They just shoot, they like spam missiles all over the place. They're not very strong, but if you've got missile skills, they'll do additional damage. But I do have a all missile build destroyer build. These actually almost made it on there, but I ended up removing them in favor of something else. But for this build, they were chosen for how small they are and how they look when they're hanging below. It looks pretty neat. And, you know, they just got a smaller profile so they don't sort of dirty up my exterior design on the top. So let's go ahead and focus on the bow of the ship now. So we're using, normally I use C-Class alpha cannons, alpha beams, but I decided to change it up this time. I'm using the auto alpha beams. I don't generally like using these because they deplete your weapon capacitor pretty quickly, but honestly I kind of wanted to try something different. They look cool when they're shooting, but yeah, we've got 4 of those guys up here, and that's sort of our main battery of weapons. Plus how they have this like crisscross look with the horizon weapon mounts up front. I mean, the front of this thing looks pretty dang cool, in my personal opinion anyway. So anyway, that's it for our armaments and our defense. So congratulations, you've got yourself a fully assembled Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser now. So let's go ahead and talk about the coloring. So I'm not going to go into every single piece's individual color scheme, so let me just talk about the overall mindset. I really wanted to give these Navigator Corps ships their own unique kind of style and look. So I kind of, you know, I built 3. 2 of them are for, you know, the sort of main explorer. I built one themed as a logistics branch of the Navigator Corps. That one's got more of a gray gunmetal color, but the 2 explorers that I built, I wanted to have kind of a lighter gray, almost white color in sunlight, kind of reminiscent of, you know, ancient Earth's NASA vessels, NASA space shuttles. It just makes way more sense anyway to have, you know, your spaceships painted with a more reflective paint. The other reason was basically to give these things their own look, to set them aside from the typical paint jobs that you see from UC military Deimos Staryard ships. But I wanted to kind of retain, you see here, this UC blue all these stripes. Wanted to maintain that UC blue color on these cargo racks up here. Look really, really cool. It's got that nice metallic shine to them. Yep, that's basically my color mindset. So I can just show you these real fast if you want to copy. This is the important part here, these bumpers. This is the color scheme here, the thing that I kind of wanted myself and others to look at first. And then here's the color scheme for the spine work. It follows a very similar color scheme. And then here's how I've colored the exterior facing Hab. That's pretty much it. So we got her fully assembled, got the guns put on, we've got her painted, so I think it's time to go inspect the interior, so I'll see you inside. Alright everyone, here we are at EAG's Ship Shop. Here on the pad, we've got our Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser. So let's go ahead and take a look inside. I'm going to say I'm not going to go super in-depth about the roleplay notes on the Habs. I already did that earlier in the video, so if you're skipping here from the intro, you might want to go scrub through and check the chapters if you're interested in hearing about the deep, dirty details about my headcanon regarding all of these Habs. So here we are. This is... I always like to marvel at how huge these C-class ships can get at ground level. I spend so much time staring at these things in the shipbuilder where it feels like, you know, you're kind of observing the thing from, you know, a little ant farm. But yeah, when you're actually boots on the ground, these things are huge. So let's head on inside. So here we are at the back of the ship. This is our ladder well right here. Okay, this takes us to pretty much all the different places of the ship. Over in here, this is our little Hope Tech hallway to the navigation bridge. We'll head out that way last. So here we are hopping to the second deck. We're still in the aft section, moving towards aft. This is the main engineering room, the 2x2 engineering bay. This is what I mean. This is one of my favorites. It's so cool, and I'm super glad that it made it onto this build. Very, very neat. It gives me some Star Trek Enterprise vibes of the NX-1's engineering bay. And over in here we've got our little workshop. So here we are back in the main ladder well, hopping up to the third deck now. So let's go ahead and move this way. So we are on the third deck, moving aft again. This is the flag bridge, the 2x2 battle stations. Here's a couple portholes, so the team of expedition leads was able to look out, get a nice kind of high view of the surrounding area when we're landed and looking out through here. Up on the third deck. And then over here, this is the door to the captain's quarters. There's multiple VIPs on this vessel, so as I mentioned earlier, VIPs will have to fight over their private quarters. Alright, back into the main ladder well here. And here are the portholes that I mentioned you can't really see much out of, but I enjoy putting these on my builds when I can. Just gives you kind of a bit of a sense of scale of the ship, in my opinion anyway. So let's go ahead and hop up here. We're now on the fourth deck, moving aftwards. Here is our rear mounted infirmary. Again, I mentioned I thought it was very important to have this as the end of the walking loop, so crew members aren't walking through the infirmary. And let's go ahead and hop up to the fifth deck. This is the top research lab. Looks like everyone's having a party up here. I'm going to give you guys a warning. Be warned that Vasco glitches out in here. I often find himself kind of standing in awkward positions. He doesn't like standing near the exit when you're outside. He glitches in the middle of the ship. Yeah, not advisable to have Vasco on this build. Sadly, it is not a Vasco-friendly build. So let's go ahead and move. We're moving to the front of the ship now. We're up on that 4th deck. This is the double Deimos berth setup with the 8 beds, so 4 beds per berth room. And this hallway kind of takes us to the bow section of the ship. So here's our front ladder well. This is going to take us down to the 2x3 mess hall. 2x3, 3x2. Can't remember which. But yeah, if you've never seen one of these before, we got a nice wide open place for the crew to kind of hang out, unwind, grab a nice meal. If Barrett's in here doing a Xeno boar barbecue, everyone tends to flock in here because they know he knows how to cook. And so let's, yeah, it even has kind of like a little private officer's mess area. So I felt it was very, very fitting for the Acropolis. So down below here is that aforementioned 2x2 room, and I don't really have anything roleplay notes to give, but it's just an additional room. A cargo bay might look cool down here as well, underneath the mess hall. It's whatever you choose. And then here's our side attached armory. So that's going to conclude our interior tour here, so let me just go ahead and make our way back to the bridge. We have to run all the way through the ship again. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video here. I really enjoyed building the Acropolis class. It took me a lot longer than it normally does to build this thing. I had a lot of things going on in real life, but additionally, I wanted to make sure this ship was right, because this is just one of those, I knew this is would be one of those ships that I would be super proud of building, really excited to get, and I just wanted to make sure everything was as perfect as I could make it for myself. So I'm hoping that all y'all enjoy it. Here's our trademarked Navigator Corps bottom mounted bridge, and as you can see, not much of a hindrance to our view. And it is really neat flying this thing, seeing those retros firing up above. You can just see the end of the jet cone coming out. But anyway, there's we can look behind. There's our landing gear. Another sense of scale that we can see by looking out the windows. And just very, very quickly, if we look up top here, we've copy glitched built those hull A's down there. You can't see it at all over here. However, over here on the other side of the map table, this gray surface, that is the hull A glitching in. I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's too terrible at all. In fact, it blends really nicely with the ceiling of the Ares bridge. Anyway, that's it for the tour, everyone. Everything including doors and ladders are in the correct place. We got it painted, we got it assembled, so I say she's ready for her first expedition. I'll see you out there. Alright everybody, thanks for coming along for the ride. I just want to have a few closing words, being this is the last planned UC Navigator Corps ship, and my first time doing a series of ships. So I hope you all enjoyed the RP elements of these builds. Imagining what the UC Navigator Corps ships might have looked like has been something I was really excited to do ever since my first playthrough of Starfield. I've waited so long only because I wanted to wait until I felt a certain comfort with the shipbuilder so I could feel I would be able to do these vessels justice. So I sincerely hope you all enjoyed these 3 Navigator Corps builds, and you never know, I may revisit the United Colonies and design more. But for now, I'm hanging up the Navigator Corps jumpsuit and moving on to other design styles. As always, I wish you an absolute incredible journey of discovery in your fresh new Acropolis-Class Operations Cruiser. I'll see you in the next one.